Every autumn, we torch piles of branches that could feed the earth for decades, destroying free water and fertilizer in a single afternoon. Yet in the Alps, one rebel farmer buried wood instead of burning it and grew lemons in the snow. This mounded soil became a 20-year powerhouse. No hoses, no fertilizer, no struggle. So why did we abandon the secret that could end drought in your backyard? The answer challenges everything modern agriculture believes. Sepp Holzer never set out to become a rebel. He simply watched the mountains and listened to the soil. In the 1980s in Austria, that quiet defiance turned his farm into a battleground. Inspectors arrived with clipboards and warnings, measuring his steep terraces and the deep ponds he had dug without permission. Each mound of soil, each pile of buried wood, drew another fine. Holzer's neighbors followed the rules: flat fields, straight rows, government-approved crops. He built hills out of rotting logs and planted citrus where only spruce had grown. Officials called it reckless. They worried about floods, erosion, and the chaos of untamed land. They handed him violation notices, sometimes dozens, in a single year. By the end of the decade, Holzer was known as the most fined farmer. "Ich bin der meistbestrafte Bauer," he said with a crooked smile. "I am the most fined farmer." The fines piled up, thousands of shillings, then euros, each one a demand to return to the old ways. But Holzer kept building, even as he faced the threat of losing his land. In 1986, after heavy rains, authorities accused him of creating illegal water retention mounds. He paid the penalty, then appealed, arguing that his ponds and terraces prevented the very disasters they feared. In 1989, the pressure peaked. The Agricultural Board threatened to seize his farm. Holzer's response was simple. He invited them to see his yields. Lemons, kiwis, grapes, and root vegetables flourished on slopes where nothing but grass had grown before. His farm produced 10 times more food than any neighbor. By 1992, after yet another fine for expanding a pond, Holzer's methods had begun to speak for themselves. He wrote, "My yields silenced them." The government could not ignore the evidence: citrus trees bending under the weight of fruit, vegetables thriving without a drop of irrigation or a bag of chemical fertilizer. Holzer's persistence turned every penalty into proof. He watched the rules burn, but his soil only grew richer. The fines never stopped him. They only made him more certain. Nature, left to its own wisdom, can outlast any bureaucracy. His story is not just one of resistance, but of trust in rotting wood, in the patience of decay, and in the quiet power of a hillside garden that refuses to die. Lemons dangle in the alpine wind, their skins bright against a backdrop of snow. On the steep terraces of Krameterhof, kiwi vines climb alongside spruce trees, their fuzzy fruit swelling under cold mountain skies. Grapes ripen on the same slopes where neighbors struggle to coax grass from the soil. No hoses snake through these beds. No sprinklers tick in the night. Water comes from within the earth itself, pulled up through roots that reach deep into mounds of buried wood. The soil here is dark and loose, laced with the sweet scent of decay. Frost settles on the fields in early October, but the ground beneath Holzer's citrus trees stays warm. Even in the dead of winter, green shoots push through the mulch, fed by the slow heat of rotting logs breaking down below. The citrus trees are not stunted or sickly. They stand heavy with fruit, their leaves glossy and strong. Kiwis, usually reserved for subtropical valleys, thrive here beside alpine pines. The harvest baskets fill with colors that seem impossible at this altitude: lemons, grapes, even figs. Neighbors come to stare. Inspectors, once armed with fine books, now bring cameras. The evidence is impossible to ignore. Where others see barren slopes, Holzer gathers abundance. This is not a trick of greenhouse glass or hidden irrigation pipes. The secret is buried underfoot. Each mound is packed with fallen logs, branches, and leaves layered like the forest floor, then capped with earth. As the wood decays, it swells with rain and snowmelt, holding water like a sponge. Roots tap this hidden reservoir through the dry months. Even in drought years, the beds stay moist. Crops survive heat waves and late frosts that scorch neighboring fields. The mounds do more than hold water. As the logs break down, they release a steady stream of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium, feeding the soil for decades. The warmth from decomposition lingers through the coldest nights, stretching the growing season weeks beyond what the valley floor allows. Each mound becomes its own microclimate, a pocket of Mediterranean abundance in the heart of the Alps. Visitors walk the terraces in disbelief. They taste lemons that never saw a greenhouse. They run their hands through soil that never dries out, even in July. For 2 decades, these beds have produced harvest after harvest, without fertilizer, without irrigation, without the chemical crutches of modern farming. The proof is not in theory, but in fruit, sweet, fragrant, and impossible to explain by any rule but nature's own. At the heart of every hügelkultur mound lies a simple, overlooked miracle. Rotting wood is a sponge. Not a metaphorical sponge, but a physical one built by nature's own architecture. The cell walls of wood, made mostly of lignin, form a labyrinth of tiny pores and tunnels. When wood starts to decay, these pathways open wider. Rainwater and snowmelt seep in, flooding every chamber. In laboratory tests, heavily decomposed pine logs have soaked up water equal to 5 times their dry weight, over 500%. Oak, slower to break down, still doubles or triples its mass with moisture. That is not theory, it is physics. On the surface, a hügelkultur bed looks like any other raised mound, soil, mulch, maybe a tangle of squash vines. But if you drive a moisture probe deep into the mound, the numbers tell a different story. In the dry heat of July, when neighboring gardens wilt and hoses run day and night, the probe sinks into the hügel bed and finds moisture levels that rival a spring rain. Field readings show 40 to 60% soil moisture inside the mound, even as the topsoil above cracks in the sun. The buried logs below, swollen with water, release it slowly to the roots above. It is a hidden reservoir, recharged with every passing storm. The secret to this water-holding power lies in the way wood breaks down. As fungi and microbes eat away at the cell walls, the wood's density drops. A chunk of pine that started dense enough to sink in water becomes light and airy, like a natural sponge. In one study, degraded pine dropped to just 0.18 grams per cubic centimeter, less than half its original weight. Every gram of that decayed wood can trap several grams of water. Even after months without rain, roots find moisture where the eye sees only dust. For gardeners, this means freedom from the daily chore of dragging hoses across the yard. It means a summer without wilted leaves or lost crops. The promise is not wishful thinking, it is backed by the structure of the mound itself. Every log, every branch, every handful of rotting leaves adds another layer of storage. As the years pass, the mound settles, but its core remains a living reservoir. Stories from practitioners echo this quiet revolution. In the second year after building a hügelkultur bed, a gardener in the Pacific Northwest packed away her hose, reporting that the soil stayed moist all season. In Austria, Holzer's own terraces held water through droughts that emptied neighbors' wells. Urban gardeners working with nothing but city brush and curbside logs watched their beds thrive through heat waves without a drop of supplemental irrigation. This is the promise that draws in the lazy gardener and the frugal grower alike. Do the work once, and the mound waters itself for decades. The buried wood does not just feed the soil, it quenches its thirst, quietly, from below. The evidence is in the numbers, the probe readings, and the hands that come away damp after digging into a mound that has not seen rain in weeks. It is not magic. It is the physics of lignin and decay working in service of the soil. Beneath the surface of every hügelkultur mound, a quiet engine runs day and night. As soon as the first shovel of soil covers the wood, the mound becomes more than a reservoir. It becomes a heater. Microbes and fungi swarm through the moist, decaying logs, breaking down lignin and cellulose. Their Their work is not just invisible, it is exothermic. Every bite of wood releases a pulse of heat, warming the soil from the inside out. Even in the biting cold of an alpine winter, the ground above a buried log can register several degrees warmer than the air, and noticeably warmer than the flat fields around it. This is not just a comfort for roots, it is a survival advantage. Seeds germinate earlier in spring. Frosts that would kill young shoots on bare ground pass harmlessly over these mounds, buffered by the slow, steady warmth rising from below. In autumn, the growing season lingers, with tomatoes and squash ripening weeks after neighboring gardens have withered. The heat is only the beginning. As the years roll by, the buried wood transforms from a simple energy source into a trust fund for the soil. The breakdown of logs is a marathon, not a sprint. Hardwoods like oak and maple can take 20 years to fully decompose. During that time, the wood releases nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, at a pace that matches the needs of the plants above. There are no boom and bust cycles, no flush of fertility followed by collapse. Instead, the soil receives a slow, reliable infusion. Each spring, new roots reach deeper, finding fresh pockets of nourishment. Each autumn, the mound settles a bit more, its core richer than the year before. Field trials and long-term gardens confirm what Holzer saw on his terraces. A well-built hügelkultur bed can feed crops for 20 years or more without added fertilizer. The nutrients are not washed away by rain or burned off by sun. They are locked inside the wood, released only as the microbes finish their patient work. Even after a decade, the soil in the heart of a mound can test higher for nitrogen and phosphorus than the surrounding ground. This is not a quick fix, but a legacy. The science behind this slow release is as elegant as it is effective. As the wood decays, it becomes a scaffold for microbial life. Fungi weave through the log fibers, forming networks that shuttle minerals from deep in the mound to the surface roots. Bacteria break down complex compounds into simple nutrients. Earthworms tunnel through the softening wood, mixing it with the soil and leaving behind trails of castings rich in plant food. Each player in this underground orchestra works at its own pace, but together they turn dead wood into living fertility. For the gardener, this means less work each year and more abundance with each passing season. There is no need to haul bags of fertilizer or worry about depleting the soil. The mound handles the feeding and the heating, quietly and automatically. It is a system built on patience and trust in the slow magic of decay, and in the wisdom of letting nature's processes unfold over decades. In a world obsessed with instant results, hügelkultur offers something rare, a promise that, with the right foundation, your soil will only grow richer as the years go by. Flat fields became the new standard as machines rolled onto the land. In the decades after 1920, tractors and harvesters demanded a uniform surface. No bumps, no mounds, nothing that could slow a steel wheel or jam a plow. The old practice of building hills from buried wood fell out of favor, not because it failed, but because it didn't fit the logic of mechanization. A tractor can cover a flat acre in minutes, planting row after row without interruption. Efficiency became a numbers game, more ground covered, fewer obstacles, higher yields per hour. Fields were scraped level, brush was burned, and the landscape was reworked to suit the needs of machines, not roots. The promise of speed and scale replaced the slow, patient fertility of buried wood. As the mounds disappeared, so did their hidden reservoirs of water and nutrients. What remained was a blank canvas, easy for machines but hungry for fertilizer and irrigation. Start with a trench or build right on top of the grass. The foundation is always the same, the biggest, oldest, most rotten logs you can find. Oak and maple work best because hardwood breaks down slowly and feeds the soil for years. Never use cedar, walnut, or anything treated. Those woods poison the roots and stall the mound. Stack the logs tightly, filling gaps with smaller branches and twigs. This is not a loose pile. Every air pocket is a future sinkhole. Next, pack every crevice with nitrogen-rich greens. Rotting wood is hungry for nitrogen, so use grass clippings, fresh manure, or even urine if you have it. If you skip this step, microbes will steal nitrogen from your plants. That is the nitrogen trap, with yellow leaves, stunted growth, and disappointment. Once the green layer is thick, cap the mound with a foot of topsoil and mulch. Water it in well during the first year. After that, the mound handles the rest. A retired schoolteacher stands beside her garden, the hose coiled and untouched since the second spring. She built her first mound with storm-felled maple logs, packing every gap with grass clippings and manure. Now, even in August, the soil stays cool and damp. She jokes that her tomatoes get more water from the earth than she does from the tap. Her water bill dropped so sharply that the city sent a notice asking if the meter was broken. A frugal homeowner in the suburbs turned last year's brush pile into a serpentine bed, winding through his backyard. He kept track of every dollar. No more bags of fertilizer, no more weekly irrigation, just kitchen scraps and autumn leaves layered into the mound. By the end of the first year, his harvest was the largest he had ever seen, and the savings paid for his seed order twice over. Not every story starts with success. One permaculture enthusiast watched her seedlings yellow and stall. She had skipped the manure, trusting the wood alone. The lesson was swift. Rotting wood steals nitrogen at first. She dug in fresh clippings and a wheelbarrow of compost, and within weeks the bed sprang to life. Her mistake became her proof. The mound, once stubborn, now grows peas and squash without a hint of hunger. Each testimonial carries the same refrain: bury the wood, and the ground gives back for years. Today, droughts and fertilizer prices are climbing, while millions still burn what could become reservoirs beneath their gardens. As climate extremes threaten food security, every buried branch is a quiet act of resilience. The choice is not about nostalgia. It is about building soil that outlives us. The ground remembers what we give it. What legacy will your garden leave? Share your thoughts below.